They still have that trio of Sadak, Aspas, Les that they're building around. But I want to start this conversation by asking the same question here. That Sentinels team or this Loud team, are either of them in a position where they could get better than where Loud previously was? Or is Loud just kind of, you know, the peak that you wouldn't be able to surpass for next year?
Fala galera, tudo bem com vocês? Recentemente, durante o último episódio do Plat Chat, eles debateram bastante sobre a formação do time da Loud e até questionaram se era possível formar um time melhor do que o que foi campeão mundial. E separamos esse trecho aqui pra gente conferir. Lembrando que o link pra você assistir o episódio completo tá aqui na descrição e vale muito a pena conferir.
Loud are not completely disbanding their roster. They are sticking with the core of players that didn't go to Sentinels. They still have that trio of Sadak, Aspas, Les that they're building around. But I want to start this conversation by asking the same question here. That Sentinels team or this Loud team, are either of them in a position where they could get better than where Loud previously was? Or is Loud just kind of, you know, the peak that you wouldn't be able to surpass for next year? Are those Loud players always going on to worse teams?
This is kind of unfair though, because we don't actually have the full roster here from Loud. Just to be, we all we know is Les Sadak and Aspas. And
yeah, is it possible though? Is it possible to make a team?
100%. Yes. Number one, I think these guys are experienced enough that Sadak is going to be enough. They don't need more veterans on the team. They just, I mean, if you add a little bit more firepower to this roster, you fucking. Les was the breakout player of Champions, almost certainly. Aspas was fucking demonic in Champions and the grand final specifically. And then Sadak has proven that he's one of the best IGLs in the world. I think you still have that three core. This team could still go crazy. And I wouldn't even really change their trajectory that far away from where they would be with Saucy and Pancada.
I think Sadak is one of the best players in the world as well. When it was coming out that Loud might be disbanding, I was like, I think Sadak might be one of the top free agents, if not the top free agent coming into the scene, because he puts up unreal numbers, plays a variety of roles, and he does it from an IGL position. It's like the perfect package of what you'd want in a player to build a new roster around and build a new team around.
100 Thieves were apparently looking at him as well.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that because, you know, he's a pretty sick player. All around.
I think the team, like, surely expectations for this team should be high. Like this team should be good with the core. But I've also just seen too many times where like you take a championship roster and even just one like piece changes and then it's just never the same and it doesn't get back to the same height. So it's a very different conversation to Sentinels because Sentinels like expectations were on the floor and now they're like, oh, they might actually have a good team. They stole all these players from Loud. But for me, looking at this Loud team, yeah, looking to compete towards the top end, but hard to say that they'll actually get back to the same level, like a first place international level that they were previously.
Do you have any ideas about who would be good players to fit these gaps?
I would throw Cowan Zeen's name in there, potentially, from NIP, right? I don't know what his status is or anything like
Wasn't
that.
Cowan Zeen playing like the flex role, not the hard initiator role?
Wasn't he? Yeah, I thought he was playing...
Maybe he was.
Maybe
I'm misremembering.
He was playing full initiator, but either way, it doesn't really matter because he was he was good on the initiator role, no matter what. Young player as well. That's like the first guy that comes to my mind, but that's about it.
I was thinking Khalil, the smokes player for Furia.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's a bit more passive than Pancada was, but I think, you know, you had the duo on Loud where Sassy was extremely safe in the way that he played whilst continuing to get a lot of value. That is kind of the way that Khalil plays, but from the smokes role. So if you got a more aggressive smokes player, you might still be able to get that same synergy functioning. But I thought Khalil was looking pretty good. He is quite a passive player, but he's clearly talented. And yeah, I think potentially a decent pickup into that spot.
Mas e aí, qual a sua opinião sobre o que foi falado? Já deixa aí nos comentários, deixa também aquele like, se inscreve no canal pra não perder nada. Aquele abraço, até o próximo vídeo.